to the Wixoss podcast. This is the last of our Changing Diva deck techs updates that we're going to be doing. And I've got kind of a spicy brew for you guys here in the Sanbaka family. I did a lot of work with Sanbaka testing for the April-Spring ceremony. And what I really found was that there was a core of Sanbaka that I was constantly trying to use. And outside of that core, there was a lot of cards that were just completely dead. So, I have revisited the Sanbaka deck list. Now, I haven't done a ton of testing with this, but my initial testing seems a little promising. The end result is that basically this. I've found with the hypogeometric calculator that the required number of tribal cards in a Wixoss deck needed for it to function. The bare minimum is 28. Anything more than that is just better and better and better as you get closer to more consistent. That number comes from the fact that certain L-rigs, Liz, dig 7 deep. Other L-rigs, you want to have at least 2 things in your trash in order to pull things and recur things with. So when you do the maths, it ends up being something along the lines of, like, if you just check general Wixoss numbers, which is top 3, top 5, top 7, and then 2 in the trash, it comes out to 28. Basically, there's a lot of maths involved, but more or less that's the number. So I kind of played with that number here, and I tried to basically really stretch what it's doing and try to do something else. I'm going to come up with this, right? You always want, your Sanbaka team in general is pretty good when you are playing Virtual Signy. Liz is an amazing draw engine, and then being able to get a guard back and also being able to bounce things back to the hand, as proven by No Limit, pretty damn good. Toko being able to constantly kill off the excess amount of cards in your hand, because this deck, you can play it against a discard deck, and they'll make them go down to 0 cards, and then they start their turn, and they get to attack phase, and you're like, wait, how are you at 6 cards again in hand? It's amazing how much recursion is in it. And so being able to turn those cards, those extra cards that you were going to normally discard, into just negative 3,000 is awesome. And so this deck has a ton of free removal, which is something that you really could do. I think it's difficult to type of removal because you have to add many numbers together in the right distributions in the right orders to get a board clear, but it's not unusual to have free board clears from this. And the power mostly comes from Rena, right? That is the strongest Signy in this deck, and the fact that it has a great life burst, and the fact that it also just can do so much removal on its own, and then you can pair it with 2, and it recurs itself often with things like Toko. You very rarely don't get Rena on turn 3 and go after it. It also runs the strongest turn 1 Signy I've ever seen, which is Melissa. We're in set 0002, and we are still have nothing as strong as Melissa. Melissa is one of the perfect level 1s. It is utility in the early game, and is a wall in the mid game, and in the late game, it still hits pretty hard. So it does pretty much everything you want, and the life burst is actually genuinely a pretty good life burst. Yes, you have to pay enter for it, which stinks, but the fact that it can hit pretty much everything and get rid of pretty much everything for enter is very good. So I've been messing around with something like this. You can see actually in the order of things that I put things in that I'm like, these are the most important cards, let's get them out of the way. And we have Rena, we have Melissa, we have Himawari, we have Lulu. I actually think it's incredibly important to have at least 2 Lulus in your deck, and I would not go under that number. 3 is probably an okay number as well. 4 felt like too much every time, because I just would hit Lulus. I was like, nope, this isn't what I need. And then the Fayuki is not a good card. But you know what is a good card is Rena, and turning on Rena with that combo is good. You basically follow the lines of going, I'm going to go ahead and put a few Yuki out, give something negative 1,000. Put a Reina out, give something negative 4,000. Put another Reina out, give something negative 4,000. Sacrifice my Fuyuki to my Toko, and now I have opened the field for something better than Fuyuki. Inevitably, that's sort of the lines that you're going to play. I've actually found that I like Tamaki Fuyuko at the most of the level 2, just because I think it's a fine 10,000 virtual Signy, but the Life Burst giving something negative 8,000 just on a normal Life Burst is pretty strong. And actually usable in some black decks outside of virtual cards, so I think this is a pretty fine include. And then, you can't really go wrong with the multicolors. And I do think that this deck is a little bit more white hungry than the last version was, so having 6 multicolors is it's fine. It's nice to have. Basically, the Himawaris are going to use it, so is the Liz, and so is the Miji. Basically, that's where it stops, right? I needed to figure out some more level 2s that have a good life burst that I like. I used Miji because I've used Miji before in the past. So I think Miji's pretty strong. It's got an okay ability of being able to just pull more virtual stuff and put it into your hand. And then the life burst is actually, I like ambushing on a life burst. It's good against No Limit, for example, and aggro in general. And so from then on, I'm trying out some other stuff, right? Like I'm running some Hanels, because Hanel, if I need level 1s that are basically just going to get me to where I need to go, aka either Melissa, Enner, or eventually get to myself to Reina, which I know this doesn't pick up, but Reina's a good thing to pull off of its life burst ability. Then I figured Hanel is probably one of the best versions of just cycling that you can do to get yourself something else. Costs Enner, but sure, whatever. I do think that you need to run some amount of Dark Energy in the deck. I think Dark Energy will get you... it will get you, with so much field removal, Dark Energy really will get you some amount of energy, and the deck is a little bit of Enner starved. So it's a good thing to have. Probably 3 is the right number, and I could take out something else to fill that in. I don't know exactly what yet. I haven't got to that point in the testing. I'm also testing out something kind of interesting, which is Gimmigan. I like this card, and I don't know whether this is just a pet card of mine, because I like Dredge in Magic, and this is Dredge-ish. I like the idea that I can mill this, and when I do, it's just free removal. Yeah, not really great free removal, but it's removal I didn't have to draw. And that kind of feels nice. There's also a kind of a combo that you can set it up with Himawari if you need to. And so that's really the only changes I've made to the deck. These 2 Gamgans probably will find out that they're not super great. I'll need to run some other kind of level 1 in their place, and I haven't figured out exactly what I want there yet, and I probably need another Dark Energy at some point. As always, here are some other options that you could do. There's not a ton of virtual options to go for outside of the ones that are here. Yes, there's Sister Claire. Yes, there's Reina Petite. But the truth is, those cards aren't good. They're only there because they're virtual Signy. And because of that, I'm really trying to just take out the dead space and see what I can do once you take out the dead space. But the only other virtual Signy that I actually kind of like is this one. Miri Gundo. I think this is a fine virtual Signy. It doesn't have a life burst, which might be something that you're looking for. And you get to filter and then find one virtual Signy from the trash and put it to your hand. And it also adds to the mill sort of amount that you can do. So I think that's a pretty good one as well. If you wanted to go more self-mill too, I think Bal Doomed Evil. It's a bad Melissa, but hey, Melissa's good, so Bal is actually an okay card as well. And then Anna Mirage, I think, is probably worth an include somewhere in the deck. Anna Mirage is one of the strongest black cards that you could be playing. You should probably be thinking of it as a spell instead of a level 3, so don't mix it in with your level 3 slots. But it is over and over and over again used in the Japanese meta as a card that is strong, and you see it over and over and over again show up as a 1 of or a 2 of. So probably an option. Probably these Gamigans will eventually turn into Animarijas. And then I gotta figure out Life Burst stuff. But yeah, that's some of your tech options that you can do. And that is Sanbaka. It still does the job like it always does, which is basically a ton of free removal at all points in times. So if you're into that kind of thing, counting the numbers and making a combo happen, then this deck is still functional. And the cool thing is, this deck only gets better as time goes on. Not necessarily because you'll get more Virtual Signy, but because it's already a pretty complete package. And you can tech in the things that you want to flavor that package a little way. I would experiment with this if you guys want to experiment it and take it further. Again, that number that you're trying to hit is 28 Virtual Signy. And then you can take it to where you want to go. Alright guys, that's it for the Life Burst podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed all of the changing Diva updates, and may you always flip the Life Burst.